Today in our 2003 Ford F-350 Super Duty, we'll be installing the B&W turnover underbed gooseneck trailer hitch, part number BWG NRK 1108. Now here's what our hitch is going to look like once it's installed. On our driver's side, we have the side bracket, emergency brake cable hold down, and the release handle. Here's our handle in the locked position. We can pull it out and rotate it, and it'll hold out in the unlocked position. Then once we put our ball in position, we'll simply rotate it back towards the rear of the vehicle and release it, and the spring pressure will reset the pin back into the locked position. Here we are in the pickup bed, and we can see the locking pin down through the throat of the gooseneck center section. We can pull the handle out and lock it out, taking the gooseneck ball, and doesn't matter which way we put it in, as all four sides are the same. Drop it into position, lock the handle, and it locks the ball in place. And once we're hooked up to our trailer, we'll use the U-bolts that we installed as our chain hold downs. Now, if we're finished towing and we want to take the ball out so that we don't have anything obstructing the bed, we simply unlock the handle, remove the ball, turn it over, drop it back down into the center section, throwing the handle and locking it in place. Then to turn it back over, it's as simple as releasing the handle, pulling the ball out, and then relocking it in place. Now that we've gone over our hitch, let's go ahead and show you how to install it. Now to begin our install, we're first going to go ahead and remove the rear wheels. This will give us easier access to installing and tightening down our hitch. Now with the lug nuts off, we can go ahead and remove both rear tires. Now you can see it gives us a lot easier access here to the frame rail. Now I'll go ahead and move over to the driver's side and repeat the same process. Now with our wheels off and our vehicle ready, we're going to go ahead and mark and drill the hole in our pickup bed for the gooseneck to come up from underneath. Measuring from the end of the pickup bed, not including the tailgate, just from the pickup bed edge, we're going to go back 47 inches as per the instructions. Now once I've marked my length, we need to find our width, or the center, from side to side. Once we have our length and width measured, we're going to go ahead and drill out a pilot hole. Now note this vehicle has a spray-in bed liner, so I'm not using a centering punch. But if I had just a plain sheet metal painted pickup bed, I'd use a centering punch first before making my pilot hole. Now once I have my pilot hole made, that'll fit for my hole saw bit, we're ready to drill out the hole. Quick tech tip: if you have a piece of plywood and you've already pre-drilled a 4-inch hole, we can use it as a guide, as our hole saw will go down through it, then our pilot bit through the pickup bed, and we'll eventually cut out our 4-inch hole. Let's go ahead and set that in place. I'll stand on the board to help hold it in place. This really just helps to ensure that if my pilot bit breaks, the hole saw won't jump around and potentially damage the bed. And just like that, we've now got our hole cut out. Next, we're going to move underneath the pickup bed and remove the heat shield. We'll need the clearance to get our hitch in place. Once we have it out, we can go ahead and discard it, as it will not be reinstalled. Now with our heat shield out of the way, we're going to move to the driver's side outer frame rail. Here inside the wheel well, we can see the emergency brake cable as it comes along the outer portion of the frame. We need to go ahead and remove the bracket and stud from the frame, as it will interfere with the hitch install. Note that there is a new bracket and hardware supplied with the install kit to re-secure the cable. Once we have the mounting nut off, I'll go ahead and take a hammer and just punch the stud out. Next, we need to make a notch in the pickup bed body seam in order to allow for enough room to get our cross rails above the frame. Measuring from the hat channel back, we'll go 1.5 inches and make a mark. That'll be the center of our cut. Our cut will be approximately 1 inch wide. It'll be in a V. You can cut it out. If you have a really good pair of tin snips, or I recommend a cutoff wheel. Now with my cut made, let's go ahead and break off that section. And we've got our V channel cut that'll now assist us with getting our cross rails in place. Now with my cutout made, let's go ahead and identify our cross members. Here we have the rear cross member. It's going to have notches on the pre-drilled or oval side of the angle. And on the rear cross member, it also has a third cutout notch on the flat side. Note the oval holes will face the cab when being installed. We'll slide it all the way in until our notches fall over the frame on both sides. Then go ahead and take it and slide it back. And we want to get it approximately 4 inches behind our cutout hole in the pickup bed. Now, over time, the pickup bed can get smashed down depending on what's being loaded or installed in the bed of the pickup. In those cases, it may be necessary to either push the pickup bed back up or tap the cross rails into place. Now our front cross rail is only going to have the 2 cutouts. It's also got the same amount of attachment points, but on the other side of the angle or the steel, you can see there's no cutouts, no pre-drilled holes. This one, our pre-drilled holes are going to face the rear of the vehicle, away from the cab. And again, we're going to slide it into place until it sits over top of the frame in the cutouts. Now my front rail, I'm just going to slide it towards the rear until it gets up to the flat of the frame, so that all it has to be is rotated in place when we put the center section in. Now, once we get the center section in, we'll need to install our hardware. And to do so, we'll have to turn this rail up. A quick, easy way to do that is to take a wrench and rotate it using the wrench as leverage to get the angle to stand up between the pickup bed and the frame. So we'll go ahead and keep that on hand to use when we install the center section. Next, we need to install the side bracket and clamping strap. The side bracket will sit here on the frame, lining up with the manufacturer's attachment point, which is a pre-drilled oval hole. It also has attachment points for both of our cross rails and the clamping strap. The clamping strap is going to go around the frame with the threaded stud coming up through the hole in the top of the side bracket. It can be easier to install without the side bracket in the way. So I'm just going to go ahead and rotate it up and into place, and then bring in the side bracket. Make sure our attachment point is lined up, and then we can start installing our hardware. Here, for the threaded portion of the clamping strap that goes through the side bracket, we'll have a 1/2 inch split lock washer, and nut. Now as we install these fasteners, we're just going to do each one finger tight at this time. Next, I'm going to install the hardware that secures the clamp strap bottom pre-drilled hole to our pre-drilled hole in our side bracket. Got a 1/2 inch bolt to go through both. We'll then install the split lock washer and nut. Next, we're going to install our hardware here at the large 3/4 inch hole, which will have 3/4 inch hardware. We'll start with the pipe spacer. The pipe spacer will fit between the side bracket and the frame, take up the distance between the side bracket and the frame as the frame makes an indentation there. Once I slide that into place, I can then go ahead and install the 3/4 inch bolt through the side bracket, through the pipe spacer, then through the frame. And then on the inside, we'll install a flat washer, split lock washer, and then a nut. Now with our passenger side bracket and clamping strap set up and in place, we're going to move over to the driver's side and repeat the same process, with one exception. Because we had to remove the emergency brake cable bracket and bolt, we're going to install a new one, and it'll go into the side bracket. Our 5/16 carriage bolt will go into the side bracket in the square hole, and then I'll install the flange nut to hold it in place. And we'll come back to that later. But we need to put it in position now, because once the side bracket is secured to the frame, we won't be able to get our hardware in place. Now we'll go ahead and repeat the same procedure of installing the side bracket and clamping strap. Keep in mind, on the inside of the frame, when putting your clamping strap in place, be careful not to smash or damage any of the manufacturer's wiring, brake, or gas lines. We're now ready to go ahead and put our center section in place. We've got 3 attachment points on each side that will match up with the slotted holes in our cross rails that are already in the truck. We're going to use the 1/2 inch bolt and flat washer that will go through the cross rail and then through the center section. On the inside of the center section, we'll then add a split lock washer and a nut. Let's go ahead and put our center section in place. The latch handle will face the driver's side. We'll bring our center section up above the exhaust and then in place on the driver's side. Once in place, we can go ahead and install our hardware. Now as you can see, we've got some space between the center section and our rear cross rail. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap that into place against the center section. Once we get our center section closer, we can then install the split lock washer and nut. We've got our first 2 started. We'll go ahead and repeat the same process with the 4 outer, 2 on each side. Keep in mind that we're installing each of our fasteners finger tight until we have them all in place. Now with the center section hardware in place, we're moving back to our side bracket and cross rails. We're going to use the same hardware setup, just in a slightly different order. We'll take the bolt, go through the side bracket, then through the cross rail, where we'll install our flat washer, split lock washer, and then the nut. We'll do this for all 4. 2 here on the passenger side, and then 2 on the driver's side. Now with my passenger side done, I'll move over to the driver's side and repeat the same process. Now with all our hardware installed, we're ready to go ahead and start tightening it down. start with the fasteners underneath the pickup bed that secure the center section to the cross rails. Now once we have them tightened down, we'll go ahead and torque to specifications as indicated in the instructions. Next, we're going to go ahead and tighten down the 3/4 inch bolt. The bolt secures the side bracket to the frame. We'll tighten it down and then we'll torque to specifications. Again, as we tighten down the hardware, we'll then go ahead and torque to specifications as indicated in the instructions. Now with the driver's side fasteners tightened down and torqued to specifications, I'll move over to the passenger side and repeat the same process. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the latch pin handle. We'll feed the handle from outside the frame here at the driver's side wheel well through the cutout in the center section, line up with the square hole in the latch pin. We can then install our carriage bolt, which will go through the latch pin, then through the handle, and a flange nut to secure it. Once I have it installed, I'll go ahead and tighten it down. Be careful not to over tighten it, as it can deform the eyelet going around the carriage bolt. Now with our latch handle in place, we're going to move back to the emergency brake cable bracket. We installed the carriage bolt here earlier in the side bracket. We'll go ahead and remove the nut that was securing it. We can slide the cable bracket over the carriage bolt, and the end will go in the pre-drilled hole, and then we'll reinstall the flange nut to secure it. Once it's in place, I'll go ahead and tighten it down. Now with that done, we're going to move back to the center section. Now once we've identified the proper set of holes, because we're making sure that they're in the valley or the bottom ridge of the pickup bed, we'll go ahead and drill them out. I'm going to drill a pilot hole from underneath up through the center of our U-bolt or chain hole down, and then I'm going to drill down through the bed using the center section as a template. Now with our pilot holes drilled, we'll go ahead and use the step bit process. We start with our small pilot bit. We'll work our way up to our final size of a 1/2 inch. Once we have them drilled out, we've cleaned them up, we're ready to go ahead and put our U-bolts in place, dropping them down through the pre-drilled holes and through the center section. Next, we'll move underneath where we'll install the springs and fasteners for our U-bolts. We'll take the spring, putting the large end of the spring up against the center section. The small end will go down, and we'll install the lock nut. We're going to do it finger tight this time, and when we tighten it down, we want the lock nut flush with the bottom of the U-bolt. All right, now with all our hardware installed, we'll go ahead and tighten it down. Again, we'll make sure the nut is flush with the bottom of the U-bolt. Next, we'll go ahead and reinstall our wheels, tighten them down, and torque to specifications. Now with the wheels tightened and torqued to specifications, we'll go ahead and reinstall our center caps. And just like that, we've completed our install of the B&W turnover ball under bed gooseneck trailer hitch, part number BWG NRK 1108 on our 2003 Ford F-350 Super Duty.